Welcome to the Real Talk with Megan podcast, where we have candid conversations about the things that matter most. I'm your host, Megan, and we're going to deep dive into the topic of mental health. In a world where we're constantly pressured to perform, achieve, and excel, it's easy to neglect our mental health. But the truth is, mental health is just as important as physical health, and it's time we started treating it as such. Join the conversation as we explore the complexities of mental health issues and speak with experts, advocates, and individuals who have lived through these challenges. Together, we'll work to destigmatize mental health and start conversations. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready for a real and raw conversation about mental health on the Real Talk with Megan podcast. I started baking at a very young age with my grandma Opal. Now, I can't even count the many times that we baked her sugar cookies together. Now, these are some of the best sugar cookies I've ever had. They are light and soft, and all you need is a little bit of glaze on top for the perfect cookie. Everyone in our family gets so excited when we have these cookies at our gatherings. Now, to put it in perspective, for my wedding, I baked over about 300 cookies with my grandma at her house in her oven, because I promise that is part of the magic. And I had people come up to me at the reception asking, "Are these Opal's cookies?" And I was like, yes. So needless to say, they are famous. I've always loved baking, and I also love a challenge. So when my oldest daughter turned 1, which was 10 years ago, I am not crying. You are crying. But for her birthday party, I wanted to have one of those Pinterest cakes. But we also didn't have a lot of money to pay someone else to make it. So to save money, I thought, I've baked before. I can make it myself. My first attempts were not the best, to be honest. It was really bad. The tiers were tilted because I had no idea that you needed to add support into the cake layers for any more than one tier. And I'm pretty sure the icing was sliding off along with all the sprinkles on the bottom layer. I really wish I could find a picture to be able to show you this, because I can't even describe enough for you to understand the failure it was. But on the bright side, my daughter was 1. She'll never remember that cake, even if I do. After lots of practice and watching a ridiculous amount of YouTube videos, I started to improve my decorating skills. That was until the day I made my daughter's 3rd birthday cake, and I decided to be ambitious and try to use fondant on the cake. The theme was Frozen. The cake was 2-tiered, and this time I did use supports so it wouldn't be leaning. The bottom tier was covered in blue frosting, and the top tier was covered in white fondant. Around the cake, there were shards of sugar to represent the ice from Elsa. I had all the figurines placed around the cake so nicely. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that I decorated the same cake twice. Now let me tell you, the first time I decorated this cake, it looked so good. I was also excited because I was done early. So I put the cake in the fridge so nothing would happen to it overnight, except for there was one minor fact that I didn't know, and it destroyed my cake decorating. See, if a cake has fondant on it, whatever you do, do not, and I repeat, do not cover it, especially with saran wrap, and put it in the fridge. You want to know what happens when you do? Yeah, it melts. Yeah, it melts like a cheese that is oozing out of a grilled cheese sandwich. So the night before her party, I opened up the fridge just to check on the cake, make sure everything was good. And the white fondant was melting down the sides. It was super sticky. All the characters were falling off the cake, and I know that Olaf said some people are worth melting for, but I am pretty sure this is not what he meant. So I did what any millennial mom at this moment would do. I went to Google. I learned a very valuable lesson that day, that moisture causes fondant to melt. So after a long night of decorating this cake for the 2nd time, I put it back in the fridge uncovered this time, and the next day everything was just as I left it, and the party was a huge success. And during this time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was always looking for extra things I could do to bring in some extra cash for our family. And the first time someone asked me to make a cake for them, I was so nervous, guys. I was beyond nervous to do this for somebody else. Because if it's my cake and it messes up, then it's my cake. But if somebody's paying me to put a cake together and it messes up, that's a big issue. But the awesome thing is that they absolutely loved the cake, and they said it tasted even better, which was such a relief and really a confidence booster. After that is when I started my side business of making cakes and sweet treats for parties and special occasions. I really enjoyed baking cakes for people and being a part of their special occasions. And about 3 years ago, I quit baking for other people. It's not because I didn't love it anymore, but it was because it created so much pressure that I didn't need to put that on myself. Right before I stopped my at-home bakery, I was also working part-time at my church, doing photography on the side, teaching a weightlifting class, and being a mom of 2 energetic little girls, among other odds and ends. I was busy, to say the least. That's the world we live in today, right? Everyone is so busy. We are always rushing from one place to another. Even when we greet people, we typically ask, "How are you doing?" To which the response is, "I'm fine." But have you noticed that lately that response has changed to, "I'm busy," or, "Man, it's been a really busy week"? Why do you think that is? Is it because the perception of being busy is easier than explaining all the mess we walked through the last week? Or could it be because society tells us we should be able to do all the things at all the same time? Or is it a quick response because by the time the other person finishes the question, they've already begun to walk away? I know when I've responded this way without even realizing it, after that person walked away, I stop and think, why did I say I was busy? I mean, I have a lot going on, but should that really be my response? Probably not. It's kind of like we treat people who are busy as receiving this badge of honor. See, since I quit baking at home, I focused on what my priorities are, and I have reevaluated all the things that I was doing, that I fill my time with. See the things that bring me joy and the people who are important to me, not just filling my time with stuff, so I appear to be busy. This is something that I continue to do periodically, evaluate my priorities, and I ask myself these questions. 1, how do I spend my time? 2, how do I spend my money? And 3, what are my thoughts focused on? You have to answer these questions honestly, and sometimes you may not like the answer. The honest answer I didn't like was that my thoughts were mostly about what other people were thinking. Anytime I made a cake for someone, I would become hyper-focused to make sure it was perfect for them. So much so that I lost out on family time. Even when I decided to stop making cakes for others, I was so nervous to tell everyone because I thought I would get backlash or people would be disappointed in me. But I knew that for myself and my family, I needed to slow down. If we're always running at hyperspeed and never take time to slow down and rest, our bodies might just make us slow down and we won't have a choice in the matter. You know, the thing about how you spend your time and what you spend your money on and what your thoughts are focused on, it's really easy to figure out those first two. Because you spend your time, you can look at your calendar. You spend your money, you can look at your bank account and what you really spend your money on. Your thoughts are going to be the more difficult one to figure out. So I encourage you, if you can, write a journal out and keep track of what you're thinking. That may help you in that question. You see, I'm not sure what all you have going on in your life, but if you are like most of us, life is busy. And don't get me wrong, busy isn't always bad, and taking time to rest doesn't mean that you're lazy. Find the things that bring you joy and figure out what your priorities are. Don't just keep adding things to your schedule to keep you busy just so you can respond with, "I'm busy." If you're listening to this and you see me in person and you ask me how I'm doing, if I respond with, "I'm busy," I'm giving you full permission to call me out in a loving way because this has become a habit with me and I really want to break it. And maybe you want to join me in that and break that habit of just saying, "I'm busy." Let's not just be okay with being busy. Thanks for listening to Real Talk with Megan. Remember, you are not alone. Seeking help is a sign of strength, and taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. We'll see you next time for more honest conversations.